Alright, so we're back in the world of Diablo 4, and today guys, I'm very excited to present to you my Righteous Hellfire build for the Warlock. A lot of you asked me to make a build guide for this build, so here it is. If you're a fan of a really solid AoE damage while also having relatively passive playstyle and an extreme amount of toughness reaching over 600,000 in its current form, which is nowhere near min-max, extreme amount of invulnerability, super high mobility, and arguably the most comfortable playstyle I've ever seen in Diablo 4, then this is going to be the build for you. Keep in mind, I am on Torment 6, but that's not because we can't push any higher. It's purely because I have to make this video. It is an extremely powerful build. Now, if you're new to the channel, one thing I really want to start doing is upfronting the information so I don't waste your time. So first things first, I'm going to be breaking down a TLDR breakdown of the build. For your basic skill, you're going to be using Molten Bomb with Demon Turret, supported by Area Bonus as well as Wrath. For your core skill, you're going to be using Blazing Scream with Orbital Scream, supported by Cost Reduction and Impact Velocity. For your defensive skills, you're going to use Dark Prison, Chain Aura, supported by cooldown reduction, and Fortify. For your other defensive ability, you're going to be using Nether Step with Gloom Walker, supported by Extra Charge and Movement Speed. For your Archfiend skill, you're going to be using Infernal Breath with Abyssal Turret, Expensive Damage, and Ramping Damage. For your ultimate skill, you're going to be utilizing Terra Swarm with Searing Infestation, Pull, as well as Extra Bite. For your defensive aspect, you're going to be using Juggernaut Aspect, Aspect of the Protector, as well as Aspect of Heavenly Strength. For your offensive aspect, you want to get Aggressive Aspect, Aspect of Scorching Heat, Demonic Aspect, and Hellbent Commander Aspect. For your mobility aspect, you're going to be getting Ghost Walker Aspect. For another utility skill, you want to pick up the Ritual of Synthesis. Defensive stats you should aim for on your gear is life as well as armor, movement speed for boots, cooldown reduction for rings and accessories, and all damage multipliers for your weapons. For talismans, you want to get cooldown reduction as your seal if possible, and for charms, ideally get +2 demonology skills. For your soul shard, get the Legion shard followed by the sacrificial fragment, and in the current iteration of this build, you want to get the demonic specules as well as the fathomless Paragon boards. That is the TLDR breakdown of this build, and keep in mind, if you want more detail, there will be a mobalytics down in the description. If that's all you came here for, go ahead and shut down the video. Of course, I always want to be respectful of your time. If you do appreciate that kind of stuff though, drop a sub. That helps me out immensely. I'm trying to build a great community here, and that helps me out a ton. For those who want to see a bit more, we're going to continue in the video, but thank you all for being here. Alright, now that the intro is done, let's dive into a more detailed breakdown of the build. So first things first, the skill we're going to be picking up as our basic skill is Molten Bomb followed by Demon Turret. We're going to be supporting this with Area Bonus for the extra area damage, and we're going to be using Wrath. Now ultimately, this skill is not that important. Most of the time I run around without this skill equipped. You just have to have a skill, but if you want to use something else, this one is purely up to you. I don't use it half the time because we don't really left click often at all. For our next skill we're going to be using is going to be Blazing Scream, and this one does a ton of area damage. It travels through things and it bounces off walls. When we're using this, we use Orbital Scream, and sometimes we actually use Skull Splitter depending on the situation. And what that situation tend to be is if there's a room that has tight corridors, like we're doing nightmare dungeons, you'll see me use Skull Splitter during that. Otherwise, I typically don't. We're going to be putting Impact Velocity because this is going to give us more damage based on our movement speed, and we are very fast with this build. And then we're going to use Cost Reduction to make this much cheaper because you can channel this ability, and this will reduce the cost of it, so it's really nice. Coming over to our defensive skills, we're going to be using Dark Prison. And Dark Prison basically puts like a tethering effect on enemies and prevent them from escaping you. But we're actually going to be using Chain Aura because it becomes a Hellfire skill, which is super important to this build. I want to keep that in mind. This is super important to the build. It's going to make any damage that shoots out towards you, comes in like from outside of this AoE, come towards you, and you'll do 45% reduced damage, and it's going to do slow on enemies by 80%. This has a permanent uptime with this build. You could always have it, and it is a Hellfire skill, so keep that in mind. That's super important to this build for our aspects. We're going to use cooldown reduction because this reduces the cooldown with anything within the AoE. You could probably swap this out later, but yeah, we use that. And then Fortify, hitting enemies with Dark Prison fortifies you with more defensiveness. This is a very big defensive skill. We're also going to be utilizing Nether Swap. We only have 1 point into it because we almost have a permanent uptime on this. We're going to use Extra Charge, and we're going to be using Movement Speed because this is going to give us extra movement speed when we come out of it, and you're always relatively fast with this build. Is super important. And then we're going to use Gloom Walker. This is going to make you immune for 3 seconds. You're going to go under the ground, and you'll see in a lot of the footage that we are pretty much permanently underground with this build. if we want to be. Like we don't need to be, but we will be underground if we want to be. And that's the only way you die. Just being straight with you, you only die if you don't press this button, because you have it up all the time pretty much. For our Archfiend skill, you're going to be using Infernal Breath. Very simple, you just put it down and you'll start shooting. And you want to support this with Abyssal Turret. The reason for this is simple. It's going to let you aim it. And when you have this active, you can only have one turret, but this turret is on at all times. It is ridiculous. And you'll do like 3 blasts of damage. It is a really good skill. You're going to use ramping damage. It's going to do more and more damage to enemies who get hit with it. And then you're going to use expensive damage. This is just going to increase the cost of it. But it doesn't matter because we can only use one anyway when you have this Abyssal Turret. So this works out perfectly. For our bread and butter skill, and this is our main skill, using Terra Swarm. This is a demonology skill and it's a summon skill. Just swirls around you when you add Searing Infestation, and it becomes a Hellfire skills, and it deals ton of Hellfire damage, and it stays around you. This is what morphs into like a AoE around you skill. You're going to support it with extra bites for more damage, and then pull. It's going to pull things in. Super important to pull things in. The AoE is okay, but generally speaking, it's not the best. You want to max out Terra Swarm because that's our bread and butter skill. You want to max out Infernal Breath. This is our, I would say it's like a secondary, but it can carry by itself too until you can get your cooldowns, because your cooldowns may become a problem at some point. You may not have the cooldown stuff. This is going to be a great filler because this can be up at all times. It just requires good like placements. When it comes to Blazing Scream, this is also a complete max out. All right, next let's go over the aspects. So for our armor, we have maximum resource, which I hate to have. Armor, fortified generation, which I hate to have. I mean, it's okay. And then we have CDR on our helmet with maximum life on it. And then we imprinted this with the Juggernaut, which is going to give us total armor, but you have less evade. You do not need evade on this build because you can just press W and you will always be like pretty much safe. I can't stress how much you can have that up. It's almost like a permanent uptime pretty much. So that's super important. The reason for that, and I guess we'll break it down here, and why I told you to get that other skill, is because on our necklace, which we're going to go over, we have Ritual Synthesis. Whenever you cast a Hellfire skill, it grants your occult skills a 66% cooldown reduction for 3 seconds. So basically, because you have this one, the Ritual Synthesis, this will make this so that your dash is always off cooldown. And like pretty much always off cooldown. There's maybe like a 1 second downtime, but for the most part, you're pretty much always able to use this. So keep that in mind. For our necklace, we do have willpower, life. I would like to get rid of the crit strike, but it's not that important right now. And then we have cooldown reduction, which is super important. Demonology skill. And then we put a resistance rune into our necklace. Ideally for our armor, we don't have any right now, but I would put like Royal Amethyst in them, or Amethyst, because they give barrier generation, because we get a lot of barrier. Going to the rest of our armor first. Willpower, maximum life, armor, some form of resistance. This should be health. I was just trying impairment reduction, but go with health here. And then we're going to be using the Heavenly Strength on our chest. While wielding a two-handed weapon, it gives us 35% up to 35% damage reduction. Absolutely ridiculous passive. This wasn't something when I last played the game. We're using a two-handed weapon, you just get 35% DR. That is a ridiculous number. I don't know how that's balanced, but hey, it's here. We're using it. For our gloves, we have maximum life, crit chance, damage over time multiplier. I don't know if damage over time multi works on this build. I've not seen any tag that suggests it does, and it's really hard to test. If anyone knows, let me know down in the comments, but we're using damage over time multi. You can go with like generic damage in the case of that, or like attack speed probably be fine. So keep that in mind. We're using reanimation. Your summons will gain additional damage as they're alive. Your most of your skills stay alive for over 10 seconds, and your spinny thing around you stay alive for more than 10 seconds. Not your swarm, but the other one. Stay alive around you for 10 seconds. So it's really nice. For our legs, we have maximum life, armor, wrath regeneration, which is kind of useless. We don't need that, and maximum life. We're going to be using the protector. Whenever you hit an elite, you get a barrier really big. For our rune word, I have to go take this out quickly. We're using Nagu, and this gains 100 offering and maintain at least one active summon for 5 seconds, gaining offering for each up to 5 summons. We are constantly gaining summons. Our Infernal Breath is a summon, our Terror Swarm is a summon, and our Blazing Scream is a summon. Even the little things you throw out, those are summons as well. You will maintain them for more than 5 seconds very easily, and we will have a very high uptime on this, which we're going to be using Q, which gives us Earthen Bulwark, which will give us barrier, and I believe Earthen Bulwark gives Fortify as well. I haven't played Druid in forever, but I think so. But regardless, you're going to be using those together, as you can see here, like this. This is new to me, by the way, so I'm a little bit unfamiliar with how this works 100%. But yeah, that's how we're using it, and this helps us like maintain so much defensiveness. It's absurd. For our boots, we're going to be going with the Ghostwalker affix on it. This is whenever we become unstoppable for 4 seconds, and during the unstoppable and for 4 seconds after, you will gain increased move speed and unhindered. When you press your 2 ability, the Nether Step, that makes you unstoppable, and since we have a permanent uptime, that means we're permanently fast and we're permanently unhindered, making us defensively unstoppable. Defense in this build is ridiculous. I never said anything about this in the intro, but we can get up to 600,000 defense toughness, and most of the time you're running around with crazy amounts of toughness. For our weapon, we're going to be using the Demonologist, or the demonic aspect. What this does is whenever you hit with a demonology skill, this is going to give you more and more damage. Most of our skills are demonology skills. Pretty much all our summons are demonology skills. So this is going to give us permanent damage uptime, which is going to be up to 130%. Really nice. I'm using all damage multiplier as my sockets. I have no clue if fire works for this. When I tested it, it didn't seem like it did, but I could be wrong. I went with all damage multiplier, but again, just, you know, do your own testing, I guess. We already talked about the necklace, so let's go to the next ring. Cooldown reduction on both things. I got crit and willpower. Kind of up to you what you want on those pieces, but I went with crit because we're going to start building crit eventually on this build. And then we imprinted this with your summons deal increased damage. All these skills are summon skills, if you didn't know. On this, we put all elemental resistance, and the same in this next ring, all elemental resistance, willpower, cooldown reduction, armor, you know, just defensive stuff, and cooldown reduction is the most important here. You can go with offensive stuff if you want to for your build, but this is what I have currently. What I put in this though was while moving, you gain increased damage for 2 seconds, and whenever you hit an enemy close, this refreshes the duration. We're always moving because we're like a Righteous Fire build kind of, so we always want to be fast and moving, and we're gonna just get that damage, you know, and we're gonna just hit things if we walk by them. So for our soul shard, we're getting the Legion shard, pretty much the only thing we can use, and the sacrificial fragment just gonna give you damage and unstoppable for your demonology skills. That's what this is for. For our talisman, we went with a Swift for Drodric Seal of Summoning. This gave us CDR. That's why we got it. We want one form of CDR on our seal, and this will give you a near permanent uptime on your Righteous Fire, your swarm skill. It'll be like a 2-second downtime or something. Like, it's barely noticeable downtime. You can almost instantly press it. You could probably get it permanent uptime, but it is completely fine in its current state. For what we have on this, what I got these for was purely for the +3 to demonology skills, and then we got resistances if it had it, just so we can be a little bit more defensive. As you can see there, just plus the demonology skills. That's all that really matters. For our Paragon board, what I have here may not be the most efficient, probably isn't, but we grab this one, Headhunter. Probably not the best, but I went with Headhunter here. Warped. And then we grabbed the Domination, came up here and we added the board Demonic Speckles. I think that means, I have it designated like, I have it designed like this. Blood Ward there, Demon Wall here. We grab this over here for the glyph, and we put Demonologist because I think it's really good synergies. Came up here, grabbed the Hellish Recovery, and then we added the board called Fathomless. Haven't finished this board yet, but we'll finish it by tomorrow. Chaining. We put a Eliminator here for more damage. For demonology skills. We have the pack sign, and then we're making our way down here to grab the binding and this one, and then we're gonna grab this one and then go down this way if you're wondering. But I'll have a probably updated build video by tomorrow with this, or check the mobalytics, of course. I just want to do a little bit of detailed breakdown of the build just so you guys have a better idea of how it plays. All you need to do when you're playing this build is just run up to enemies, press the R key, and stand next to them. That's really it. Throw down your turret if an enemy's kind of strong and just like aim it at them, and then just press your E off cooldown because it's just gonna give you your occult uptime, and that's gonna just make your like dash ability pretty much constant. If you want to stay underground most of the time, you can. The only time you need to come out from underground is whenever you need to cast your Righteous Fire skill. Other than that, that's really it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward build. As I said earlier, it has gotten to the point where I had like 600k defense, toughness, not defense, toughness. Have tons of barrier, fortify. I don't die, my health don't move. I stand in AoEs like an imbecile. And let's say hypothetically, I couldn't just stay underground for like 95% of the time. Like my defensive layers are just so ridiculously absurd that we just don't die. So yeah, it's just a really strong build. I will be expanding on this build in the next coming days. Just keep that in mind. But in this current iteration, we're doing Torment level 6. And as I said in the intro, this isn't because we can't push it. It's purely because I'm making a build video and making videos. So I gotta edit it, but otherwise the build is ridiculous and it's going to scale incredibly well. I'm so surprised no one else is talking about this build. Anyway, that's gonna be it pretty much for this build. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave them down in the comments. I will try to answer them. Mobile links once again will be down in the description as well, so you can go check in on it. I will be updating it. If you want to stop by the Twitch stream and check out the build live, I am trying to stream every single day. I'm very inconsistent over on my Twitch as well as here on YouTube. Once again, link down in the description. As always guys, my name is Fervor. Thank you all for stopping by and checking out the channel, and I'll see you in the next Diablo 4 video very soon.